On this product editor tab within your event information, you'll see this table that just basically goes over the cost, the sold of quantity, the description of your product, accepted payments, whatever the product type is, and whether or not it's active. Outside of the sold of quantity, you really are able to change pretty much anything on this table minus the jury fee. The jury fee is required for all events. All events must have an active jury fee before they go live, because a product must be active in order for artists to purchase that product. So what I want to draw your attention to right now is we actually have a change to our accepted payment. Before, you always had to choose PayPal. It was either PayPal and credit or PayPal and check. Given that we just changed to a new processor, you can now just collect checks if you wish for certain products. So you'd want to click on this drop down, change it to check, and then make sure that you've saved products, or when you're adding them, you can do it in that section as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about our new payment processor, which is called Braintree, a little bit later on in the webinar, but right now we're just going to focus specifically on product types. The jury fee might be one of the products that we get the most questions about at ZAPP, because it is the only one that is truly required by our system. We will not set you live if you do not have a jury fee. You have the option to change the description to whatever you want. So you can keep it as jury fee, you can keep it as an application fee, you can change the name throughout your show cycle depending on whether or not you're collecting early applications or late applications. You can change the name of this fee. As with many of the other ones, you control the cost, you control the description, you control the accepted payments. The only thing you don't control is that it is the jury fee. The reason for this is that artists will not move into the receive status, which is the first status you see when you come into your ZAPP management page, until they have checked out with a jury fee. For whatever reason, you're not collecting jury fees, you're not collecting money for applications, you can just change this cost to 0. And once you do that, artists who are applying on the artist side of ZAPP will be able to just do what's basically called checking out a free product, and that's all they'll have to do. If you do change that, make sure you change it back to 0. You also don't have control over the sold of quantity right here. That's just to ensure that you're able to collect as many applications as you can. So if you offer a different application fee based off of when an artist buys a product, for example, an early bird, then a normal fee, then a late fee, you basically have a few options depending on which one of those you're doing. So the first thing you can do is you can change the cost of the application fee as certain dates pass. This is most useful if you're changing something to a late fee. So if you, after a certain date, want to make the application fee maybe be $30 when it was $20, you can go ahead and just change that to $30 and save the product. It's really important that you don't create an additional product type that artists will be able to check out with, because only the jury fee product type will move them into the received, and you don't have that option on your dropdown because it is the default for that first product. However, if you're not doing a late fee, you're just doing an early bird fee, coupons are actually going to be your best friend. So if you've never created a coupon code, we'll do that right now. So it's events, coupons. And then you have basically a table that shows up that will show you any coupons you've already created. If you have not created any coupons, you'll just basically have the top of this table and then this section to create a coupon. So right now I'll create an early bird coupon, and we'll say, that the early bird is 25% off. You can also change this to a dollar amount if you are more specific in your exact dollars for an early bird versus a late fee versus your normal fee. And then you can change your maximum uses. So maximum uses is most applicable when you have only a certain number of artists checking out with that fee. So that a lot of times will happen when an admin decides to give a discount to returning artists. So they'll change the maximum uses from 0, which is no limit, to, say 4 or 6 or however many award winners or returning artists are eligible to use that coupon code, and then they'll go ahead and send that code to those artists specifically. What we're going to do with the early bird fee is a little bit different. So we are going to leave 0 for no limit. Anybody can apply during the early bird time and use this coupon. We'll use the code early bird. And then this is the really cool thing you can do. You can change the date. This is really useful for early bird fees if you want something to happen exactly at midnight on a certain date. So say our early bird goes from July 18th day to August 18th. We want to make sure that it's active again on ZAPP. If it's not active, artists won't be able to use it. And then we're just going to apply it to the application fee. It's not going to be applicable for any of these other fees. If it was, somebody could use the early bird code to get 25% off the regular booth, which is not our goal in this exact moment. So those are the things to keep in mind. Again, the end date will be at midnight, so artists will be able to use the code until midnight. And a lot of times what administrators do with early bird fees in particular is they will put that code directly on their event prospectus, and then any artist who reads the prospectus and sees the early bird code and applies with it then gets that 25% off, so long as they're applying during the early bird time. And then say on August 19th, you could go into your event prospectus and take out that early bird code, but you wouldn't have to worry about changing the price exactly at midnight on August 18th. The system would do that for you, and then you could just go in the next morning and take it out of your prospectus. So that's kind of the coupon page, and again, you can create coupons for any product whatsoever, but that's just an example of how you could do it for your application fee. That's the jury fee, basically. That's the majority of what it's used for. It's mainly just to make sure that artists get into this received status. If they do pay with checks, they won't move right into receive, but they'll move into awaiting payment by check, which we're going to talk about in our next section, which is booth products. So booth products are our second most used product type within the product editor, and they are visible to artists in the exempt from jury, invited, accepted, and confirmed statuses. So pretty much anything that would be after your jury, that's who is eligible to see booth products. Not all admins on our site sell or collect base payments through our site, but about 80% of our shows do, just because it makes it a bit easier on them and on the artists who already have a one central place to go to do their applications. So you have the option to create as many booth products as you'd like. Again, to do that, you just come down here, you choose booth, you can choose your payment types. Again, if you want to select checks only, you can do that now. And then you can just create your product as you would normally create any other product. So sometimes we get the question, how can I kind of control artists, which artists buy which products? Right now, we don't have a way for you to select which artists can see which products. So we understand that is something that a lot of people would appreciate. But one of the things you can do that we do see some people do is some administrators do first come, first serve booths by creating a new booth product for every single section, and then limiting that quantity-wise. So if I had, section C, regular booth, and say I had 10 of those, I could then put 10 there and put the price as whatever it is, and then add it, and then only 10 artists, the first 10 that came in that wanted to buy that product, would be able to buy that booth. The second way you can do it is by controlling who's in the invited status during your jury. You could stagger it throughout your jury while you move people into the invited status, and that's your first group of artists that you want to purchase booths. Everybody else stays in received until you're ready for the next group to purchase booths, and then you can just kind of stagger it that way. So that would leave some artists not getting their invitation at the same time as other artists, so I would understand why people would not want to do that. The third way that you could kind of do that was you could leave your jury set to in progress. So a quick refresher on the jury administration page for this is if your hide current artist status is set to yes, artists cannot buy booth products. And if your jury status is set to in progress, artists can buy booth products, but they can't see their status. So when they're on their My ZAPPlication page, which I have up over here, they'll just see that the jury is in progress rather than seeing that they are invited or anything like that. So here's my Waterfall Festival application, and you can see that the jury is in progress. However, this artist is also in the invited status, so they can go into their ZAPP shop, and I'll still see booth products while I'm in the invited status, even while the jury is still in progress. So what you could do is you could make sure that it's set up like this, jury in progress, hide current artist status to no, and then I could go into my management page. Right now I'm the only one in invited, but if I had multiple artists in there, I could flag each one, and then I could go into the communication tab check invited and limit the selection to flagged artists. Select and then let them know specific instructions for going in and buying their booth product, even while their application status on their My ZAPPlications page is set to in progress. So once they've bought their product, then you could move the jury out of in progress, and then you could send out communications to the rest of your artists letting them know that they too are invited, and here's how they go check out a booth. There are some artists on ZAPP who have been using ZAPP for a really long time, and they just know that they can go directly to their ZAPP shop and see products even when the jury is set to in progress. So that is something you need to think about when you're doing that, but it is an option in terms of at least attempting to have a selective booth process in that way, in that first come, first serve kind of way. The third kind of way you could do it is similar to what I just showed, or this might be the fourth way you could do it. So you could keep your booth products deactivated within your event editor. So I could deactivate these, which means they aren't available. Move everyone to the invited, change the jury to complete, change the high current artist status to no, and send out invitation things. Let artists accept or decline your invitation. And then once they accept or decline your invitation, you could go in and tell specific artists what time the booth product will be active, make sure it's active at that time, and then you kind of control the flow of artists that way. Similar to the last option, you still run the risk of artists who are in ZAPP at the time and checking the ZAPP shop, seeing it, and going ahead and doing it that way. But those are some ways that you could go ahead and stagger booth products if you are interested. The other thing about the booth product is that as soon as an artist purchases one, they move into what we call the confirmed status. In ZAPP, that essentially means that artist is coming to your festival, it's right here, because they have purchased their booth space. You have the option, of course, to move people directly into confirmed if you're using a different workflow and you're maybe not selling booths on ZAPP. But if you are, that's what the booth product will essentially do. It will go ahead and move them into the confirmed, and the booth product is the only one that will move artists from either invited, accepted, or exempt from jury into the confirmed status. So it's just something to keep in mind while you're doing that. There are a few other post-jury products that you can sell to your artists. These are the canopy, the electric, and the tent products. These are used purely for your own internal uses. I mean, artists will also see them, so it'll be for their internal uses as well to know that they purchased that product, they have a receipt for it, and you and both you and they know that that item will either be coming or you'll be providing it depending on how your flow works. These products, the three that I just mentioned, which are the canopy, electric, and the tent, are also just visible to the exempt from jury, invited, accepted, and confirmed statuses. The thing about them is, unlike the booth, which is available to the same statuses, they do not move artists into the confirmed status. The other product type actually shows up to all artists who have submitted an application or are submitting an application. So this is where we kind of run into problems with the jury fee. If we are going to run into any issues, it will be because an administrator tried to do a late fee as an other product type, and that will not move artists into the received status. It won't move them anywhere. Again, it's just for whatever needs you need it for. So this could be something like t-shirts, it could be memorabilia, it could be anything like that that you just want artists to have the option to buy. And that's kind of how the other product type works. So you may notice I skipped over the deposit, and that's because we're going to talk about it in depth because it's our newest product type, and it definitely has a pretty specific workflow. So the way the deposit product type works is that essentially an artist can buy the deposit type, and rather than move into the confirmed status, they will be automatically tagged with the word deposit, and they will stay in whatever status they have. This is useful for administrators who want artists to buy a deposit, but they don't want them to move into the confirmed yet because you're doing kind of a staggered purchase date where half of the booth is going to be paid one day and half of it's going to be paid the other, and you want to make sure that you know who's paid the deposit and then later who's paid the actual booth product just at a visual glance of your event management table. So what it would look like if we had a very active event and hundreds of artists that are paying booths and paying deposits, the invited and accepted artists, they could have paid their deposit, and you will be able to sort by that through a tag, through the tag that would come up. They could have paid their deposit, but they have not paid their booth product. The only people who would have paid the booth product would be confirmed artists. So we don't have any of those right now. And so that is just kind of how it would work from your management side. So now we're going to just go through a quick demo of what it would look like for both the admin and artist. So we're going to go ahead and create a booth product, deposit product for $100. So I'm creating a $100 product, booth deposit product, with the intention that my full booth is actually going to be $200. So I'm going to limit it to the regular booth in section C. So I have 10 of those, so I want to make sure I have 10 of these. I'm going to say deposit for the section C regular booth. I'm going to go ahead and accept all payment types, if I can. There we go. And then I'm going to label it as a deposit product. Making sure it's a deposit product is the most important item in this section. Otherwise, they won't be automatically tagged, and it will kind of not work the exact same way. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. So now that exists. Any artist in the invited, accepted, exempt from jury, or I believe confirmed statuses will be able to see this product just like the other booth products, so they'll have the option to buy it. And so if we go over to my artist side of ZAPP and go back to my ZAPPlications, we'll just go to the ZAPP shop. And then I'll be able to see, okay, here's the deposit for the section C booth as an artist. And as an artist, you will likely have, the administrator will likely have communicated with me that I need to buy the deposit first. And the other thing a lot of administrators do when using the deposit product is they just deactivate the other products. Artists don't have the option to buy the booth product first, because otherwise it can get a little confusing. This product type was mainly made for people who do their booth purchases in 2 sections, the first of which being that artists buy the deposit, and the second of which be that artists pay the actual remaining booth fees. So you wouldn't typically have both active at the same time. So let's go ahead and do that just to keep the demonstration super clear. We'll go ahead and uncheck all of those. And that one. Save that product, those products. So that is reflected on the artist side. If we go ahead and refresh the page, now I just have the deposit for either the regular booth or the section C regular booth. So I can go ahead and add that to my cart. Review the cart. Oops, I've got an additional booth hanging out there. Check out. And we're going to come back to all of this in a moment. Let's go ahead and make a coupon for this artist. Say they are also a festival winner, so they get half off their booth. So we want to, or 100% off their booth deposit, meaning they'll get half off their total booth when they go to buy the remainder of the product. Now we'll go back here, type in our coupon, and it's 100% off, so I'll have the option to check out a free item. Submit. And then this is just what the receipt is that an artist would see. And when I go back to their My ZAPPlications, they'll say, hey, I purchased the deposit for the regular booth. They click in here. They can also see that they used a coupon, which is why it's showing up as $0. On our side now, what's happened is I have not moved. I'm still in the invited status, but I now have this auto tag of deposit. So if you're an administrator with a ton of people in the invited status, you can go ahead and sort them by tag or show only tagged artists up here if this is the only tag you're using, or search for the specific deposit tag and the artists will come up who have paid that deposit. And you can kind of flag the ones who have not and remind them that they need to pay their deposit when you get to that point. So going along, now say some time has passed and I need to purchase the remainder of the booth. So as an administrator, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to re-enable all of the other products and save them. Then I'm going to come into this side, go back to the ZAPP shop, I'll see that these are available. I purchased a deposit for section C, so I'm going to add that to my cart, and then I will check out just like I previously did, and then I will move into the confirmed status essentially. So I guess we'll go through this section, talk a little bit about awaiting payment by check as well while we do this. So go into review cart, I'm going to check out. I'm going to choose check. So now I have the option to select check. We'll just put in a fake check number for now. Here's your option to add a note if you want to collect any additional requests this way. Note section, the add note can do this for you, and then you can download it into a report. And then I'm gonna hit submit. Just for your knowledge, on the artist check receipt, they also get a bit more information, including where to send the check and additional contact information. So I'm going to go back to my ZAPPlications and I see, hey, like I bought that booth. And within management, I have actually moved to the awaiting payment by check status. So when artists purchase a booth, if they purchase it by check, they'll move into the awaiting payment by check status. Again, this is to help you guys as you work to collect payments. Once they move into the awaiting payment by check section, you can just go ahead and wait for their check. And then as soon as it has been received, you just move it from move this one from pending to received. You can also use the other options for your own management, just depending on what you need. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this person from awaiting payment by check into the confirmed status. If I had paid by credit card, I would have moved into the confirmed status automatically. So once I'm in confirmed, then, I bought the deposit, I bought the regular booth, everything looks good. If you are curious as an admin how people are moving into the confirmed status or just moving statuses in general, because people in the invited status can accept or decline their invitation, but you also have the option to move them into specific statuses regardless, you can always check this status change history. It will likely load a bit faster for you guys because you're not moving people back and forth as much as we do as ZAPP team members. So I can see right here that I was invited, and then I went into awaiting payment by check when I purchased my booth product, and then the admin version of me, which is right here, you see admin and applicant, moved awaiting payment by check into confirmed. So if you have multiple people working on your event, you can sort of check to see who's moving who between statuses this way. That's how you can do that, and that's how the booth product works. The most important thing, again, is just to keep in mind that it doesn't work in a way that kind of automatically takes, $100 or whatever the deposit is off of your booth product. They operate separately, so you'll just want to make sure you're doing that yourself to make sure that artists are not paying essentially twice the cost of your booth or however you're setting up deposits to work. So I kind of alluded to this earlier, but we have a new payment processor. The name of it is Braintree. It is under the PayPal family, much like how we were before. It's just a newer system. It happens to be more secure, and it will also allow us to work on implementing additional digital wallet payment types, such as Venmo and Apple Pay in the future. On the artist side, the cool thing about this is that they have the option to save payment type, meaning they have the option to save credit card numbers, debit card numbers, and PayPal login information. So if I were an artist and I had set that up, which I haven't on this account, what would happen is as I go into here and I were to hit credit card and PayPal, maybe I do have it set up. And then I could choose either card or PayPal. They again have the option to choose which one. You have the option to pay by card, go back and go another way, or pay by PayPal, and then go to PayPal checkout. And so this is just now what it looks like on the artist side of ZAPP when it comes to checking out a payment. The cool thing about them being able to save payments is that it lets them just be able to easily check out because they know that that card is saved in ZAPP, saved securely in ZAPP. They can just check out with that. They don't have to enter in any additional information, and hopefully it will help take a load off of pressure-wise while they're checking out, because we all know that there are days when procrastination gets the best of us, or where you're just checking out a little bit late and not having to worry about re-entering card information or having that not go through, or PayPal or whatever. Being able to save just kind of eliminates some of that. So that's a pretty exciting enhancement that we're excited to have and excited to see what it looks like in the future as we're able to implement these additional digital wallet payment types. The future. So the final thing we're going to talk about today is going to be the income breakdown report. This is your hub for all things revenue that goes through ZAPP. So the first thing I want to say about it is it does not ever include your licensing fees, meaning that the income breakdown report works primarily with revenue collected through ZAPP rather than the licensing fees that we might be auto-deducting throughout your show season. Just think of it as the income breakdown report shows you what's happening on ZAPP revenue-wise, just through ZAPP as your artists check out via credit card or PayPal or things like that. It can also show you checks, but we don't send those on the remittance checks because they come directly to you. So that's not really something that you need to look at the income breakdown report when you're cross-referencing with our remittance check. We're going to go ahead and start with just seeing how much revenue an event collected in the first place. So to do that, you choose however long you've been collecting revenue. You select the event that you want to check. If you have multiple events, you need to run data for them separately. Then you can go ahead and select one event at a time. If you're running it for a whole agency or organization and you do have multiple events, you can select them all and do it that way. Go ahead and run the report, and I'll go ahead and see every transaction that's gone through ZAPP in the time that I stated at the top there. Here we go. Right here, which would be a year. So July 18th, 2018 to July 18th, 2019. Here's all the revenue we collected just through ZAPP. And this will include check payments because I did not choose to hide them. So over here you have filter options, which are hide all checks, hide all credit cards, hide all discounts, and hide all $0 transactions. So if you're only interested in the revenue you collected, you might not need to see $0 transactions, but you might want to see hide all checks. If you're more interested in checking our remittance statement versus the numbers you ran, hide all checks might be something you want to check because our remittance statement won't reflect the checks that you have received via artists for your event through ZAPP. When it comes to checking remittance statements, I'll just go through what that would look like right now. Remittance statements are usually for the previous month. So if you're looking to check your June remittance statement, you'd want to go to June 1st through June 31st, hide all checks, and then click Run Report. And when you did this, you'd get a whole list of payments, basically, and then you'd be able to see the total billed. It's separated by event over here. The credit card fees that came out of your total bill, so credit card fees will be reflected on the income breakdown report. And then your collected revenue, so basically total billed minus credit card fees. And then you'll be able to see how much you collected in credit cards versus how much in checks versus how much you might still have pending. If you have high checks on, for example, you'd have revenue in pending, possibly, depending on whether or not you marked it in ZAPP as received. That's basically how this number is pulled. If the check was marked as received in ZAPP, then it's no longer pending. So if you do see any revenue in the pending category and you are trying to check a remittance check, you'll want to make sure that you go back up to the top, as I mentioned before, and check that hide all checks option because you don't want to see any check information when you're checking our remittance statement versus your numbers. So a quick thing about credit card fees that people usually ask us. So the credit card fee on credit card transactions is 2.95% plus 30 cents. It's automatically taken out, so we never invoice it to you later or anything like that. It's just important to know that this is the only fee that really shows up on the income breakdown report. If you have per app fees, if you're a standard show with per app fees, or you are a small show that's collected over 150 applications and therefore have app fees, that won't show up here. That'll show up on your remittance report, remittance statement that comes with your check, or it won't show up here. It basically won't show up here, so you just want to make sure that you're using that information versus your income breakdown report when you're looking to check both things against each other. So the final cool thing you can do with this is download your report that we're going to talk about today. You can do other cool things with the income breakdown report, but we're basically just going to finish up by talking about the download report. So when you go ahead and run your revenue, let's say again, we're just going to go ahead and run it for, last June to this past June. And we're not going to choose to hide all checks. You can choose to run the report, but you can also choose to do this thing where it's display downloads only, and that's when you'll have the option to just download the report and you won't have to wait for it to create this table. And it will pull a report that looks like this and includes a bunch of information, including, the licensee name. You don't have to super worry about these things, but purchase date, And then the first name, last name, their username, the description of the product. So this is where you'll be able to see when booth products were bought, if that's something that is really important to you. That's how you'll be able to figure it out. And then the product type that it is, in case you were using those for your internal purposes, you'll know what product type. The overall price, the exact time at which somebody bought that product, which is usually really important to admins who are deciding where to put people booth-wise in their festival. The quantity, the total price they paid, the total price it was, the credit card fee, and the sort of net amount, Any coupons used is also here, and then check numbers. So you'll see there is obviously no credit card fee for these check payments that we put through as a testing team, but there are check numbers. So that's how that worked. If you're looking to use this report in conjunction with one of our other reports, contacts, answers, jury summary, anything like that, the common field that you might want to be aware of is the artist ID. That's the same on every single one, no matter how many times an artist applied. Each application will have a artist ID attached to it. That's kind of that report and everything you need to know there. Again, you can use these reports for whatever purposes you need, whether that is assigning booth numbers or waitlist numbers or anything like that. So these can be really useful mostly because they have this exact paid at stamp of time. So that's all I have for you. So as always, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them via zapphelp@wesstaff.org, WESTAF.org, or send us a ticket. We'd be happy to answer them there. So thank you for joining our webinar, and we'll see you next month.